It's Red Eye Radio. Talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios. For Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, Dan Mandis. This is Red Eye Radio.
669073339. It is Saturday morning, August 16th, and the network decided instead of the usual best of on Saturday mornings, we would go ahead and run a live show to cover the aftermath of the Vladimir Putin-Donald Trump meeting. And a lot has happened over the last several hours. We have Donald Trump, and he hit the phones the second he got back on Air Force One. He spent an hour talking to Vladimir Zelenskyy. They then included other leaders on the call. And now Zelenskyy is on his way, or will be on his way to Washington, D.C., and he's going to be with Donald Trump in the White House on Monday. I just cannot wait to find out. Do you think he's going to wear a tie and a suit? I don't know why I'm stuck on this, but I hope he learned his lesson from last time. I'd be willing to bet good money he is going to wear a suit, because he got his tail handed to him last time. You remember that? By the way, I have a text line for tonight only. I host a morning show on Super Talk 99.7 WTN in Nashville, Tennessee. Been a host here for many, many years, and we do have that text line. So if you don't want to call in, that's fine. You can text us, 615-737-9986. You know what? Give me a yes or no on the text line right now. Do you think Zelenskyy will actually wear a suit? I think it'd be a really good idea if he did. Now, it does seem like President Trump has been able to make some inroads this morning in dealing with Vladimir Putin and Zelenskyy. It does seem, at least to me, like there was enough progress was made in this conversation with Vladimir Putin that he got on the phone with Zelenskyy and perhaps had that conversation with Zelenskyy and said, we are close. And because we're close, you need to come to Washington, D.C. Here's what I'm going to say. If they're not close, then Zelenskyy never would have come or agreed to come to Washington, D.C. Because remember what's happened. Remember what's happened. You've got all of those European leaders that are in on this conversation as well. So they may be close. I was playing some audio earlier. There's rumors and conversations about an air ceasefire. And so at the very least, that is a start. Now, Bill Maher. Y'all know that he's not exactly the biggest fan of Donald Trump, right? I think part of what's happening in America today is that those folks that were rabidly anti-Donald Trump, they're beginning to come around. And I'm not entirely certain when they got, as we like to say, red-pilled. Not sure when they got red-pilled, but they have. Now, Bill Maher, you remember that he famously went to the White House and he, sat and broke bread with the president. He got eviscerated for that. But Bill Maher, as much as he does not like Donald Trump, or at least in the past he didn't like Donald Trump, he is willing to give the president his props. I'm going to play 2 audio bites for you that I find fascinating. This is Maher talking about how, you know what? Not everything Donald Trump does, if you're a Democrat, not everything that Donald Trump does is terrible.
Look, I'll say this for Trump. He's got this idea that America is still the biggest swinging in the world, and we have not used our power as much as we should. That's what the tariffs are about. We have the power to change these people's, other nations' trading practices with us, some of which were out of line. I'm surprised that people went along with it as much as they did. So he wasn't completely wrong about that. He said, look, NATO hasn't been paying their fair share. I'm going to make them do that. He wasn't wrong about that. And I'll tell you this, one thing about him that I know, I'm not going to tell you how I know, but a lot of people have seen the same thing. He really does hate war.
Right.
He really does not like it when people die in war.
Yeah, I mean, listen, Bill Maher is absolutely right. And, you know, there's a lot of warmongers in Washington, D.C. that don't have the passion like Donald Trump does to save lives. Do you know who else has actually been a little bit of red-pilled? Hillary Clinton. That's right. I played some audio earlier, and somebody hit me up on the super text line asking me to, the text line, asking me to play that audio again because they came in right in the middle of that segment. So Hillary actually came out on Friday and said that if Donald Trump can negotiate a peace deal, that she herself would nominate Donald Trump for a Nobel Peace Prize. So she was being interviewed by Jessica Tarlov, and she actually, now this is Hillary, she actually praised Donald Trump for what he has accomplished.
I actually was encouraged by the events of the last several months. First of all, the NATO commitment by individual member states to increase their defense spending is very welcome. It's something that prior administrations have certainly sought, and I think it's great that we are seeing these commitments that now have to be followed through on. The willingness of European countries to support Ukraine, and by doing so, buy American weapons in order to provide them to the Ukrainians. I think all of that is a very good signal that there is beginning to be a better understanding, both by the president and the people around him, as well as by the leaders of our European allies, that there can be common ground amongst us. And the kind of dismissiveness that we saw in the first Trump administration has been replaced by a much more obvious working relationship to the good of European security, transatlantic security, and hopefully Ukrainian security. So I'm actually encouraged.
Right? I mean, now here's the thing, because I'm tracking with you, folks. I swear I'm tracking with you. How many of you actually said, well, she's trying to stay out of jail, right? We all know the stories that's out there. We all know the stories that I've been covering locally in Nashville and Gary and Eric have been covering here on Red Eye Radio on the network. Hillary behind the dirty dossier. You've got all of that corruption and collusion going on with Obama and James Clapper and John Brennan trying to torpedo Donald Trump, Donald Trump's first term in office. I call it a political assassination. That is what they did. So she's trying to stay out of jail. That's the only thing that I can say is the reasoning behind suddenly Hillary is encouraged about what Donald Trump is doing.
All right. Do you ever think Hillary Clinton, the author of the bought and paid for Russian disinformation dossier, the author of the Russia hoax, going into today would be saying she would nominate you for a Nobel Peace Prize? I don't think you ever expected that happening.
Well, you know, I don't want to be involved in that sense, not because of her. It's very nice. If she said that, it's very nice. I really appreciate it, too, actually. But
she tried to ruin your life, and in many ways, she ruined 3 years of your life.
Hannity is apoplectic. He's like, you can't say something nice about Hillary or be appreciative of what she's saying. Are you kidding?
Well, she made me stronger and tougher. And, wow. You know, we had...
You are way more forgiving than me.
Well, it was a sad chapter in our country's history. I will say that.
You know what? Maybe Trump is trying to move on. But I was like Sean Hannity. You know, I was thinking that there's going to be, you know, maybe some Trump thunder. You know, say something about, Hillary and lock her up and, all of the controversy now with the Clinton Foundation. You've probably heard of that. So, I mean, again, I feel like she's trying to stay out of prison.
If President Trump were the architect of that, I'd nominate him for a Nobel Peace Prize.
Well, that was very nice. I may have to start liking her again.
That that was Donald Trump with Brett Baer. And this is Matt in Northern Virginia on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Matt.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. So I really wanted to call about the comments you made about D.C.
Yes.
So I do believe the show of police force is honestly superficial.
What do you mean?
So I think it addresses symptoms, not the cause of crime in D.C.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and it's more of, I think if you need if you want to solve the issue, the causes, you need to, unfortunately, invest in more community, more school, and which to keep juveniles out of prison, unfortunately.
Do you know what I think the problem is, Matt?
Yeah.
I think there's a problem with the lack of fathers in the households. That's what I think the problem is.
I mean, yes.
The biggest problem that we have in this country today with these roving gangs of youth across America in places like Washington, D.C. and some of these other places, how many of those kids actually have a father in the household? How many of those kids have a man in the house that has actually taught them a respect for authority and a respect of the law?
I can't say. I don't know those numbers off the top of my head. I'm going to be completely honest.
No, I get it, but you see my point, though.
Mm-hmm.
And I would agree that, you know what, keeping kids in school is really important, and I do understand that. But you'll see districts in across America where they do invest in schools, heavily in schools, and unfortunately, there's still a crap show.
Yes.
I mean, we could get into school unions, and we could get into, just that is a long conversation. But
yeah. No, I mainly just wanted to say the show of force is mostly superficial. That was like the main thing, and I think it's a waste of essentially taxpayer money to have the National Guard going to D.C. and just for an entire week. I think it is. And it's just essentially...
No, it's actually Hey, Matt, hold on real quick. It's actually for 30 days, and then Trump is trying to get that renewed for another 30 days. But here's what I would say. I understand what you mean by superficial, and I totally get it. But here's the deal. Regardless as to what the cause is, we still have a lot of crime in the streets of Washington, D.C., and so they are there to take care of it. Regardless of what the cause is, we have the problem. And the problem needs to be taken care of. And if that means that we send a lot of these dirtbags to jail or juvenile hall, then that's what we need to do. Do you not agree with me, Matt? Listen, it's cool if you don't agree with me. That's what the First Amendment and talk radio is all about. Do you not agree with me?
Yeah. I'm having a hard time, but I do see your point of view, yes.
Yeah. Well, hey, Matt, I appreciate the call, and I do appreciate the dialogue very much. 866-90-RED-EYE is the phone number, 866-907-3339. I'm sorry, I get so frustrated, and I'm not taking it out on Matt. I get so frustrated, though, with a lack of fathers in the home. Because to me, that is the biggest problem that is plaguing our society today, is a lack of fathers in the home. It leads to more fathers out of the home. It leads to more fatherless children. It leads to more people in jail, and it leads to more crime. Because there's nobody there to teach these young boys or men how to behave. And so then they end up, encountering a police officer, and they don't know how to deal with authority because there's no man in the house. So you solved the fatherless household problem. You are taking a gigantic step in the right direction. 866-90 Red Eye. We'll return next.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by House Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
USDA's first crop production forecast of the year based on farmers' surveys reveals the following for fall harvested crops. Corn production up 13% year over year. The forecasted 16.7 billion bushels of corn produced, if realized, would set a record. Also projected, record corn yields at almost 189 bushels per acre. Meanwhile, soybean and cotton crop production forecast down 2% and 8% respectively from August of last year. Despite the bean production forecast down from 2024, crop yields are expected to set a record 53.6 bushels per acre. Cotton yields, however, are forecasted to be down 24 pounds from last year. As for winter wheat production projections based on actual harvest data, this year's crop is up 1% from the July forecast. All wheat production is down slightly from the previous forecast and 2% from last year. I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90 Red Eye on Red Eye Radio.
Red Eye Radio, 866-90 Red Eye. We are live here on Saturday morning, August 16th, and John is in Nashville on Red Eye Radio. Hey, John.
Yeah, how you doing, Dan?
I'm good.
Good. So, yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that we're kind of missing a little bit of the bigger picture, or maybe not, but it seems like people are a little bit, is that D.C. is not the issue. This is a countrywide issue, in my opinion. And so all this stuff that we see and hear about D.C. going on is happening all over the country. I mean, it's happening in Chicago. It's happening in Nashville. It's happening in major cities everywhere. And I think the reason for that is I can trace it back. Most of this lawlessness happened after the Floyd riots. And
John, you mean the Summer of Love, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah, the Summer of Love. And so it seemed like when that happened, they killed policing effectively. They marked.
Oh, doggone it, John!
Changes to
the. John, I'm sorry, I lost you. Your cell phone crapped out on us. But here's what I'll say. I think we're both right, John. So you're right that the Summer of Love, George Floyd riots, all that stuff, all of the negativity about the police definitely had an impact. But I still contend that the root of the problem, maybe we've got dual roots, John. I still firmly believe that the root of the problem is that we don't have fathers in a lot of households across America. It is a huge societal problem that dates back to before the George Floyd riots. That's number one. But John, you were absolutely correct that the demonization of police by Democrats, that has also had a negative impact. Third thing, matter of fact, since we're just going down this road, the soft on crime George Soros DAs, well, guess what? They're emboldening the criminals. You embolden the criminals by not charging them crimes. That is a big problem, not charging them when they commit crimes. That is a huge problem in America. And I appreciate the call. 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. Text us 615-737-9986.
Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios. Now, for Gary McNamara and Eric Harley, here is Dan Mandis.
Appreciate you listening. And, earlier, we're live on Saturday morning, and the network decided that instead of a best of show on Saturday morning, we would do a live show. So here I am, and we've had a very eventful night covering all things Donald Trump, Vladimir Putin, and so, the very latest, Donald Trump flew back to Washington, D.C. He's been on the phone with Vladimir Zelenskyy. He's been on the phone with a myriad of other European leaders, and Zelenskyy is going to come to Washington, D.C. on Monday, and I think they may be close. I could be wrong on this, and if I am, well, hopefully you'll forget about that the next time I'm on Red Eye. But I think they might be close to at least some sort of an agreement. So that is the latest on that. I'm fascinated by whether or not Zelenskyy, when he shows up on Monday, is going to be in a suit. And so I asked folks to text in. I'm using my text line from my local show in Nashville, Tennessee, where I host a morning talk show. Do you think Zelenskyy will wear a suit? And I had 8 people that said, yes, he will, and 8 people that said, no, he won't. So I need some tiebreakers. 615-737-9986. I'm watching the text line now. Will Zelenskyy wear a suit? Yes or no? Now, we're talking about crime, just real quickly, because this is essentially my last segment, so I want to get a bunch of stuff in. So there is this guy in Washington, D.C., and I loved this audio from yesterday. My Nashville audience will remember this, where there's a guy, and he's watching the cops, the National Guard just kind of walk on by, and he's got a message for his friends in Washington, D.C. Listen.
So everybody tripping about Trump releasing the National Guard out there in D.C. Everybody tripping about Trump putting the military in them towns. Well, if you're not a criminal, if you're not out there in them streets doing anything you ain't got no business doing, you don't have anything to worry about. Yep. If you're not the one that's out there being notorious in those streets, if you're not the one putting tears in parents' eyes for no reason, for things, for stuff, if you're not out there terrorizing people, just wreaking havoc on the streets, you don't have anything to worry about. If you're not the problem, don't make yourself the problem. When the military hit them streets and they start grabbing people by the neck, I'm gonna be right there on my porch with a nice margarita, sitting there chilling, saying, I told you so. I mother-freaking told you so.
I mean, don't you love that? The man speaks the truth. The man speaks the truth. You know a man who does not speak the truth? Jake Tapper. Did you see what happened to him on CNN? And then I'm going to get to your calls. There was a really bad moment on CNN with Jake Tapper. So he had no idea that he was on TV. Now, just so you know, as a guy who has been on the radio for like 30 years, that is a bad feeling. But eventually, when these things happen, you realize, you know what? Anytime you're in front of a microphone, you act like the microphone is on and the lever is turned up, and you don't say a word that you don't want put out on 50 or 100,000 watts, right? You got to learn. You got to learn the hard way. Jake Tapper's been doing this a long time. I want to play this audio for you. Really bad moment. He had no idea he was on TV, and he starts throwing a hissy fit. This was last night.
Let's go back to Jake in Anchorage. Jake?
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
Show's back.
All right, here we go. So let's go.
So I want to make sure you heard that, because it's so funny. I'm no fan of Jake Tapper, trust me. So maybe I'm maybe a little more gleeful at his embarrassment, but he's clearly talking to someone, and he obviously doesn't know that he is on TV, and he's obviously irritated for whatever reason, and he, air quoting, wants his show back. And then when he when he says that, he realizes he was on the air, and it is just a monumental train wreck. Listen, and by the way, the other fun part about this is people are laughing right there on the stage or whatever, and you can hear it if you listen real close.
Let's go back to Jake in Anchorage. Jake?
I'm fine. Just give me my show back.
Show's back.
All right, here we go. So let's go now to Senator Schiff, who we have here. Senator Schiff is joining me, ready to go. Democratic senator from California.
Oh, what a monumental train wreck that. I mean, listen, I don't feel bad for Jake Tapper. I don't feel bad for him. I know how these things happen, but I just, you know what? These things happen, and I thought that it was funny. And by the way, Adam Schiff, he might want to get as much TV time as he possibly can, because he may very well be in jail in the next couple of years. Do you think that Adam Schiff is going to go to jail? You know what's going on with him, right? Adam Schiff, this came out this week. I'm sure Gary and Eric talked about it. Adam Schiff is accused of leaking classified information to try to take down Donald Trump. Now, it was back when he was on the Intelligence Committee, right? The House Intelligence Committee, and he released classified information. He did it intentionally. He leaked it. He did it intentionally to damage Donald Trump. That is a violation of the law. And it is incredible to me that Jake Tapper would even have him on, because the dude is a stained criminal. But you know what the amazing thing is about the world today? I've actually noticed this. The weird thing about the world today is that people are proud of their crimes. Have you noticed that? People are proud of, there is a video. I do reels. Okay. I do like little videos for social media. And so I did a reel a couple of days ago. Follow me on either X or Facebook. And I'm all over the socials, but really X and Facebook. And I did a reel where this woman, she's a woman, and I'm just going to say she shouldn't be in a bikini, but whatever. And she's in like a liquor store or some sort of a convenience store, and she's throwing bottles and all over the floor, and glass is everywhere. She's clearly behaving badly. And she doesn't care the chaos that she is causing. And it was like she was proud of her bad behavior. And so I did a little reel on it. If you want to go check it out, it's quite the visual. Follow me on X at Dan Mandis Show, and you just, you got to scroll down a little bit. Same with Facebook. But it's the same concept with Adam Schiff. Adam Schiff is using these allegations. He's proud of the allegations that he leaked intel to damage Donald Trump, to save democracy. And so there's this insanity about America these days where, and I don't know if it's because of social media, I don't know if it's because of a lack of God or a lack of fathers, lack of family, or a lack of morality. But people are proud of their crimes these days. And they wear them like a badge of honor. They even post it to social media. Or if you're Adam Schiff, you're out there saying you did it to save democracy. You didn't do anything wrong. Well, you know what, Adam Schiff? The DOJ may very well disagree with you, and you could be going to jail. So enjoy your time while you got it. Enjoy your freedom while you got it. Joel is in San Diego on Red Eye Radio. Hey, Joel, thanks for calling in.
Hey, you're welcome. I was listening to Hillary. At first, I thought it was someone running for a Republican position, but I was amazed at what she said. To me, it just shows the inhumanity and the godliness that some people would have to seek the positions of power, whether it's Hillary or any of the people that are under prosecution right now. We need to make sure that those people that lied and did what they did against Trump for all the years and against the citizens of America, the lying and the ruining of lies from Flynn to everybody down, that they serve some time. If there's no punishment for these people, then nothing has changed. And for that other fellow that called in about not understanding why the troops are there, all he thought about was money. That it was going to cost somebody money to have order in the streets. I mean, that's how the Democrats would see things in life. It just comes down to no godliness and the inhumanity that some people have. And unfortunately, we have very ignorant society. People just don't care about looking for the truth. They don't want to take the time. They're complacent. They have too much in their lives. They need to care about the country. They need to understand that we need challenges in life to make us stronger. And unfortunately, there's so many kids, like you said, that have no fathers in the home because the mothers are getting paid by the state to make children. And if the dad isn't a leader in the home, then there's no order at all. Thank God for Trump having the soul to take it upon himself to meet with leaders of other countries to try to create peace on the planet. We have a great country, and we just have to keep the faith and listen to programs like you, and you stay strong as you can be, too.
All right. Thank you, Joel. I appreciate it. Out there in San Diego, California. You know, it's interesting. We're talking about Hillary Clinton. Bill Maher went off on Democrats. Now, I played some Bill Maher audio earlier, and I'm going to play a little bit more here because I think it serves a bigger purpose. So you just heard, I played some audio earlier, and Joel was talking about it, where Hillary is talking about Donald Trump and how suddenly she doesn't find Trump so horrifying. And it could be, again, because she's trying to kiss his butt and not get sent to jail for some of the crimes that I believe that she has committed. But she was talking to Jessica Tarlov. Now, if you don't know who Jessica Tarlov is, she is a co-host on Fox News, The Five, right? She is the liberal of the show. And so she's, sort of the punching bag and so forth. But Hillary knows that is going to be an extremely easy interview. And Bill Maher got ticked because he's been trying to get her on the show for years.
People ask me all the time, why haven't you ever had Hillary or Bill Clinton on? Why didn't you have Kamala on during the last campaign? You think we don't ask? We ask these people every week. They say no. It took 8 years and a petition to get Obama on. Wow. And these are people, all people I voted for. Think about that. They're afraid to come on the show of a guy who voted for them. The Republicans, they show up. And when they do, they take their beating like a man.
And the thing is, he's got all these pictures of him with Republican politicians who did indeed, including Donald Trump, show up for conversation with Bill Maher. 866-90-RED-EYE. We'll return next.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
Red Eye Radio, the phone number is 866-90-RED-EYE, 866-907-3339. So I took a poll, a very informal poll and not scientific at all, but I've been using my text line from my local show in Nashville, Tennessee. Will Vladimir Zelenskyy wear a suit on Monday when he arrives at the White House to talk to Donald Trump? What do you think it was? 32 to 25 said that Vladimir Zelenskyy will not wear a suit. See, I don't think he's going to wear a suit because he seems to be And listen, I'm not, throwing shade, but whatever. But I think he's a very bullheaded man, and I don't believe that he's going to wear a suit. But I think that if he shows up without a suit, as I said earlier, if he shows up without a suit, I can promise you, friends, they will force him to wear one for the good of the negotiations. They have to do that. Now, the question is, how close are we to peace? Next week, it is going to be a fascinating, fascinating week. It all begins Sunday night, Monday morning with Gary and Eric. They return to Red Eye Radio. Appreciate you listening.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.